Welcome to Fantasia, home of the melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another post-duel commentary. Now this time, gonna be playing with my Windwitch Majespecter deck. Now, this is a pretty good opening hand. This is one of those decks where you actually like opening with a glass spell, if you open with something, of course, like Ties of the Brethren. So, search out for the ice spell so I can set up a Crystal Wing play if my field gets cleared out, and I activate the Ties of the Brethren, which allows me to summon two other level 4 wind spellcaster type monsters from my deck. I choose to summon the Toad and the Fox from my deck. Of course, Crow can search me a spell, but the spells are kind of inferior to the trap cards, at least if you're going first. So, with the Fox, I search out the Majespecter Tempest, and with the Toad, I search out the set the Majespecter Tornado straight from my deck. Now, going into a game blind like this, I like to have one of each card, just because I don't know what I'm up against, and spot removal is sometimes pretty good. Majespecter Tempest can be dead in some matchups where my opponent, is playing a deck that does not rely too much on monster effects, just normal summons a beat stick or something like True Dracos, right? Now looking at my opponent, he doesn't have an extra deck, so at first I was like, okay, you might be playing True Dracos, but you also might be playing Monarchs, but in that case, Tempest would actually be really good against them. But then he activates Draconic Diagram. I'm like, alright, okay, he's playing True Dracos, and the Maxi in my hand is basically going to be dead. There's no way that this deck is going to be special summoning anything, especially since he does have an extra deck and things like that. But Draconic Diagram destroys the True King's Return in his hand. He's going to go for a search, and at this point I'm expecting, of course, the Masterpiece. I'm expecting this to be a Masterpiece Turbo deck, and that's actually going to be pretty bad for me because it's a bad matchup. Of course, Majespecters, very weak monsters, very small, and have a very difficult time dealing with something like a Masterpiece where it's unaffected by spell and trap effects. He does end up searching the True King's Return, which telegraphed to me that, okay, he does have the Masterpiece already in his hand, so yeah, whatever, right? Again, like I was saying, you guys were talking about in my deck profile, in the comments of my deck profile. I really appreciate all the feedback that you guys have been giving me. It's absolutely amazing, and I've been testing the changes out. I'm definitely going to include Majespecter Sonics in my next one, but this is the exact same deck that I presented to you guys in my deck profile, so it's not using Majespecter Sonics. Now, Sonics could boost something like my Majespecter Fox here, so that Majespecter Fox can attack over the Masterpiece, but unfortunately, I don't have access to that, right? So that's a bit of a problem. Okay, so the my opponent tributes one of the back row, which happened to be one of the spell cards, Disciples of the True Draco Phoenix, and that gets to destroy a spell or trap card, and he targeted my Tornado. So of course I'm not going to chain the Tornado because 1, the Masterpiece is unaffected by trap cards, and 2, I have to tribute one of my monsters as a cost, so that means that I would just lose a monster and I'll lose my spell and trap, and that's not good. I want to keep as many of these monsters on the field as possible so I can potentially go for an XYZ or something like that next turn to try to bait out that Masterpiece effect. Now, he has the True Draco Heritage, and that allows him to get an additional draw, which, okay, that's completely fine because he only tributed 1 of the True Draco spell and traps. I believe the other card that he tributed was the Prime Monarch, so I know that, okay, he's playing some form of Monarch True Dracos. Both of my assumptions at the beginning of the duel were basically correct. But here, my Quaking Mirror Force doesn't do anything either, because again, Masterpiece is unaffected by trap cards. But he attacks into my glass spell. I guess he doesn't want me to go for a synchro. I could easily go for something like Ignister and try to bait out his removal, right? Because that Ignister is just amazing. But yeah, anyway, I'm left with 2 Majespecter monsters, and yeah, the dead, as I was saying, Tempest pretty much dead in this matchup, unless my opponent's using the effects of the other the smaller True Dracos, right, the level 6 ones. Yeah, I'm looking at my extra deck and I'm just seeing, okay, what can I do? I'm pretty sure the back row that he has set is going to be a True Draco one, right? It's going to be something like one of the trap cards, or potentially even just one of the spell cards, just wanting to bait out bait me into popping it so that he can destroy one of my cards for free, essentially. So going for Tornado Dragon is probably not the best idea here, even though I could just chain it to Masterpiece's removal effect and yeah, get rid of his field spell or something like that. But I want something that's threatening his Masterpiece because I want to force out that Masterpiece effect. So I go for the Lightning Chidori, and Lightning Chidori, when it's XYZ summoned, I can actually target 1 card that's set on my opponent's side of the field and return that target to the bottom of the deck. Now, because it says return that target to the bottom of the deck and it doesn't say return it to the bottom of the deck, if he actually flips that card face up, then it won't be returned. But of course, that's just me assuming that it's something that he can chain. But anyway, he uses the Masterpiece effect, and of course he's going to get rid of my Lightning Chidori, because again, his Masterpiece is not affected, or it is affected by monster effects, so I could Lightning Chidori and use its like Castell effect to put that Masterpiece onto the top of his deck. Now I can't use the Ice Bell in my hand. The Ice Bell requires that me to have not special summon anything else from my extra deck that turn, except level 5 or higher wind type monsters. Because I summoned an XYZ, which doesn't have a level, then I've already you know, played into that restriction. I can't summon the Ice Bell, can't do the Crystal Wing play this turn. So I ended up using my Eccentric Archfiend. I could have normal summoned her and popped the Masterpiece, but again, he can just easily search for another one with his Dragonic Diagram. So decided to pop that Dragonic Diagram because that is the card that's going to continuously generate advantage for him. So want that out of the way, I can still deal with Masterpiece next turn because I set the Max C to protect my life points. And if he summons another monster, I do have that Quaking Mirror Force that's set that can potentially halt an attack. Now, of course, Masterpiece can still attack me, but, you know, that's not enough to swing for a game, so I'm feeling pretty safe right now. So he summons his Eidos, and I'm like, okay, and uses Eidos' effect so that he can normal summon. Again, he normal summons Dynamite Knight, the true Draco fighter. Now, again, because he has a monster, it's completely fine because I do have that Quaking Mirror Force. He uses the Masterpiece to destroy my face down and attempts to swing for game, because for all he knows that I have nothing except Majespecter, Spell, and Trap. So flip the Quaking Mirror Force. Unfortunately, his Dynamite Knight gets to set a True Draco trap card, I believe, from his deck, or activate it, or search it. So he chooses to search out the True Draco Apocalypse. I'm like, alright, that's completely fine. True Draco Apocalypse is the one where he destroys another one of his True Draco or True King cards and halves the attack of and defense of all face-up monsters that I control. Which doesn't really matter because even if he halves the attack of something like Crystal Wing still gets its honest type effect, and since all True Dracos are level 5 or higher type monsters, I do get to gain their attack when I'm attacking, so Crystal Wing can still beat everything on the field. Now the problem is, Masterpiece still hasn't used his effect on this particular turn, so I'm hoping he does not pop this Glass Bell, because if he does, it's going to be a huge problem. So for all he knows, I do not have that Snowbell, and I'm trying to search out the Snowbell. So the smart move here would be to just destroy the Ice Bell, because then, you know, I'd have a Glass Bell, and if I search out the Snowbell, I do not have any other place. But little does he know that I already have the Snowbell. One of the few times where I'm actually really happy that I drew into the Snowbell, because normally you don't want to, because you can easily search it out with your Glass Bell. So search out another copy of Ice Bell, normal summon her, and then special summon the Snowbell from my hand. Now, this is huge because now I can go for my Crystal Wing. But the thing is, if he used a True Draco Apocalypse right here and destroyed his Heritage, and then used his Heritage to destroy his Apocalypse, Apocalypse can trigger and destroy one of my monsters. But I don't think he realized that at the time, and he didn't do that. That's one important thing that I just need to point out to you guys, because if he did that, it would have halted everything, and I basically would have lost. But here, he lets me go ahead and make that Crystal Wing, so I'm like, alright, I'm gonna take every opportunity that I get, and I'm not going to complain, right? A lot of people, if you're dueling in real life, they won't realize these options either because it's not really obvious or laid out for them. But here he decides to go for the True Draco Apocalypse and says, okay. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You destroy your Heritage, and then Heritage can pop one of my spell trap cards. So he's probably going to pop that Majespecter Tempest that I have that pretty much is already dead. But then he goes for that play that I described to you just now, and he uses his True Draco Heritage, and I believe he pops his True Draco Apocalypse. Now, this is this is just, I guess, a misplay on his part. I don't know, he's thinking right now, but yeah, he decides to target his True Draco Apocalypse, and True Draco Apocalypse can destroy a monster on my side of the field, but Snowbell protects my Crystal Wing from destruction. That's why it's called the Indestructible Crystal Wing, quote-unquote. So yeah, even with his attack halved, I gained the attack of Masterpiece, so I could just attack into him and deal 1500 damage to my opponent. Pretty good. Now I have that Solemn Warning that I drew for turn. It's dead, because I have less than 2,000 life points, so unfortunately, it's just nothing, right? But my opponent, I don't know why he did this, but he just summoned a Kuraz by tributing his True Draco. He could have left the True Draco there, and I would have just taken another turn to attack into him, and he wouldn't have taken no damage. But he tributed summoned it for the Kuraz. I don't know if this was like just nerves or something getting into him because he was flustered that he couldn't make the OTK, or that he just started making mistakes and misplays, because he started making misplays after he popped after I started summoning the Crystal Wing, right, in the process of that. Before that, he was playing really well, so I think that mistake just started to throw him off, and now I'm just taking advantage of it. I drew into the Ties of Brethren, which, again, is completely dead, because I have less than 2,000 life points available to me, but I did draw into Majespecter Toad, which is amazing, because now I can set that Majespecter Tornado, and this is going to be very crucial, because Majespecter Tornado is nothing that requires my opponent to have anything. Like Tempest requires my opponent to activate something, this does not. I can just chain it at any time. So if my opponent summons anything remotely threatening, I can easily just remove it and not have to worry about it. Of course, I set the Solemn Warning and the Ties of the Brethren just to put the fear into my opponent that I have 4 back row with a Crystal Wing and all this, but he gets really lucky and he top decks a Pot of Desires, which gets him 2 additional draws, and in a deck like True Dracos, that's actually pretty huge, because they only really need like 1 monster and 1 spell or trap card. They can set the spell or trap card and then tribute that for their monster. Now in this case, it wouldn't really help them because of the fact that he only has 900 life points left, and Crystal Wing would basically attack for game. But here he summons the Idea, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna definitely negate that with Crystal Wing. He's gonna activate Idea's effect, and I believe add the Prime Monarch that he banished with his Masterpiece from his banished zone back to his hand. But that's completely fine because, again, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have any Monarch spell or trap cards to shuffle back to get additional draws with it. And I use my Crystal Wing's effect to negate instead of my counter traps and things like that, because, of course, my counter traps are more useful. They hit my opponent can't respond to them, they're counter traps. So I'm saving that, and because of the fact that I'd have to tribute a monster, and I'd rather have 2 monsters on my side of the field, just in case a scenario like this pops up where my opponent summons a monster and is able to defend themselves. So if I use my Tempest, then it would have been bad because I only had the Crystal Wing. I draw into a Quaking Mirror Force, again, no monsters, but this should be enough to attack for game. I can attack over his Idea with my Toad, and then attack him directly with the Crystal Wing for game. But yeah. And here, yeah, my opponent surrenders, and this was quite an interesting match, and definitely just small misplay on my opponent's part. He had the correct idea, especially with the interaction between his True Draco Apocalypse and the True Draco Heritage, where he could have disrupted my synchro plays before I could make the Crystal Wing, but unfortunately he realized that a little too late, and of course, as with real life or in tournament play, there are no takebacks. So yeah, I already had the Crystal Wing on the field and he wasn't able to overcome that field. Crystal Wing is definitely one of the best MVPs against True Dracos. Alright, but yeah, anyway, that does it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Windwitch Majespecter content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.